there's a pain point for a lot of players around just getting coaching. Like, I can't get a coach, okay? But actually what's even worse is you can get a coach, but they're actually giving you the wrong advice, and it's actually putting your game backwards rather than even not having a coach at all.
Tom, we're here with another Padel episode on our podcast, and I mean, I've just done a set of clinics recently where I've gone around a few different clubs, and I'm not going to name names, but I have seen some coaching that, again, is leading players to not only not improve, like just get bad habits. And it's so frustrating. Me as a coach and someone that's passionate about improving the game, to see coaches that are probably not well enough trained to help their players is really frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, you and I share this frustration, and I think is really why we started the Padel School in the first place. But I mean, before we dive into the topic of today, like let's go back to why it is such a pain point for us, because I think it is such a pain point for us, and it's why we do what we do every day. So, well, you're older than me, so if we start back to your tennis days and the coaching you received as a tennis player when you were younger, I'll go into mine afterwards, but we'll do it chronologically. So why is bad coaching, poor coaching, such a pain point for you?
Well, I think we've come into this with our tennis background almost before we've even got into padel, and the tennis was, I suppose, doubly frustrating for me because I felt like the coaching I had at the time, I wouldn't know any different. My parents wouldn't know any different. Like they were kind of going into tennis, learning the best way they could, getting involved with the federation, me myself chasing ratings points to reach a certain level. And after a junior circuit of trying to do that, I then went to college, which I absolutely loved, by the way. Like the coaching in college, the whole setup of US college, like I played NCAA Division 1, is amazing. I actually think that of all my tennis experience, that was the one that was the closest to padel, and I think part of the reason why I like padel so much is that team environment. I loved it. But generally, my experience in coaching for tennis was just one of frustration. And then it was doubly frustrating because I had you, who are 8 years younger than me, coming up. I spent a lot of time coaching with you, but then also seeing the coaching and the path you went down. And, you know, really, because of the coaching, you ended up spending time injured and ill and not reaching the potential that you probably could have done as a tennis player. And so, yeah, that was kind of really a frustrating time. And, you know, I say, obviously, when we go into the padel, it's like, now this can be fixed. Now we can do something new. But I mean, what was your experience?
No, I think it was the same. I think for both of us, those experiences in tennis of not having the coaching we needed to unlock our potential, that was the frustrating bit, was that the impact that poor coaching advice can have. Because I think when we look at padel now, particularly in emerging countries, there's a pain point for a lot of players around just getting coaching. Like, I can't get a coach, okay? But actually what's even worse is you can get a coach, but they're actually giving you the wrong advice, and it's actually putting your game backwards rather than even not having a coach at all.
And they don't know until
you don't know. Yeah. And you don't know. And I think that experience of tennis really, I mean, it's stuck with us because it's why we do what we do with the Padel School now, is that we know that if you can get the best coaching advice, it will help you unlock your potential. If you don't, then if anything, it can be detrimental. And we just believe that every player deserves to have that coaching advice. So it's definitely our past in tennis has definitely shaped how we do things now at the Padel School. But it's interesting, isn't it, to look back on those experiences.
Yeah, definitely. I think the main reason for us is that we know that if players can get coaching, get advice, they will become more confident. They'll enjoy the sport more. They'll bring more friends. Like sport has played such a massive role in both our lives, not just tennis and padel, but just generally. And it's the same. My daughter now, like the most important thing, not the most, but one of them is to make sure that she enjoys playing sport and is active and healthy. And so I truly believe, and I know you feel the same, that good advice will help the longevity of someone playing a sport. And when paddle came along, I thought, what a fantastic opportunity. It's almost not been muddied by previous bad coaching. It's almost like now's a chance. And particularly with the Padel School, we start the YouTube channel, we have our content, particularly to get that information out there, to get good advice out there. And now it's very different. I remember when I first started the YouTube channel, like 8 or 9 years ago, we were the only English-speaking advice out there. And so, it was one to follow. And I looked on it, recently, and there's countless now. There's lots and lots of advice going in there. And so you see some really good, you see some, not so good, and you see some pretty poor. But the idea is that we want to almost be a place where people can learn the game properly.
So for all those players watching or listening to this, how do they know if they're going to get good coaching? And it might be players that are already being coached, or it might be players that are thinking, okay, if I want to take my game to the next level, I want to get coaching, but I'm not sure who I want to get to coach me. How do I know that person's going to be good? So how can we help players understand what good coaching looks like?
It's a really difficult one, because if we say to a player they need coaching, but there's only one coach at their club, it's not like they have a lot of choice. And I think there are some signs to know if your coach is good. And at the beginning of the sport, everyone is looking to see if they're Spanish. If they've played the game since they were young, then they must know the sport. They must be a good coach. And we've often found that really is not the case. When we come to working with our academies or our clubs, I would much rather have a good coach from another sport, or a PE teacher that we are teaching them to develop their skills within paddle. They will become a really good coach. And sometimes you have paddle enthusiasts or people that have played paddle for a long time that actually don't know how to teach it, don't know how to communicate properly and organise their lessons and work with the players. And a big pet peeve for us is this idea of queuing people up, where the coach stands at one side with a basket. They are essentially doing the job of a ball machine, and then there's 5 or 6 waiting at the other end. They hit 3 forehands, and then they all rotate round and they play 3 shots, and they're waiting for 10 minutes for the next time they come back on. For us, that is a major frustration. I see that, and I just think that's immediately bad coaching. Even if the coach has amazing knowledge of the game, I would say that's bad coaching. Yeah,
this idea that a good player must be a good coach it's an idea that is all over the world now, isn't it? I mean, I've lost track of how many conversations we've had with players, with clubs, that if they're wanting to get a good coach, they have to have played the game to a high level. That can help, and obviously if you have that experience of playing to a high level, great, but being a good coach requires so many different sets of skills to learn that you can't just equate a good playing level to a good coach level.
No, definitely not. And often we say, can you find someone with a good personality, a willingness to learn, an organisational and personable skills, and you will be able to turn them into a coach. But like we said, it's difficult for a player. They know they need to improve the game, but they only have access to this coach. It's almost like, how can they make the most of this situation? Because we're always talking about finding good coaching early on in your journey, and if you can set the foundations, then you can really improve your game. But it's not so easy.
Yeah, I think for players, if they're receiving coaching, I think, and this sounds like a really obvious sign, but you want to see continuous improvement. If you're getting good coaching, you should be seeing continuous improvement. Now, part of that will be down to the player, what they do in between those coaching sessions. So if you have a coaching session, and for example, let's say you're learning the glass, the best thing you can actually do in between those coaching sessions is go out with another player or maybe a ball machine and go and train on all of those skills that you learn in the lesson. If you do that, you'll completely fast track your progress. But really, the basics to start with for players is, are you continuously improving as you're getting coaching?
Yeah, and we have lots of players that they've had the coach every week for 6 months and they're not seeing improvement. Well, that for me would be a sign that you maybe need to find an alternative to the advice that you're getting. And a good coach will do a good session. They will give you 1 or 2 key takeaways that you need to focus on in this next week before you see them next. And they will also give you an idea of what drills or what exercises you could do to improve your game. Now, that's what our academy coaches do. Obviously, our academy coaches have access to our drill banks and our drill books and our programs, but I mean, players can get that access themselves. It's on our platform if their coach themselves are not giving it to them.
Yeah, so they should be improving. They should be improving that. They should be following a program. And I think this links in to the next point, which is around structure. Each week, you should be targeting areas of the game which will lead to improvement. If you find that you go to your coach and you're doing one shot, you're doing the top spin smash for 3 meters, and then the next week you're doing side glass, and the next week maybe you do side glass again, and it just doesn't feel like there's a structure to the training, that's probably also a sign that the coach isn't really looking at you as a player and thinking, okay, which are the main building blocks that we need to work on here to take you to that next level. It might just be a case of the coaching is going through the motions a little bit, so players can also watch out for that as well.
Yeah, and I think part of what we want to do is, with the Padel School, is develop the sport. So that's not only like teaching the players, but also helping the coaches have access to materials that they could give better lessons. Because, like we said, this is such a great time to be so early in a sport, and it's encouraging that you don't need to be an amazing player to be a good coach now. Like, you can just follow some good paths, and that almost leads into, you know, we've got an exciting project that we're going to be launching in January 2026 of, you know, really aiming to help as many players as we can. Obviously, we have our online platform, but this will be something that where the focus will be in person with ourselves, our coaches, our academies, and, you know, you'll be seeing a launch and announcement very soon on it. But the idea is that the bigger the impact we can have on coaches and clubs, the more we can help players be on that right path.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive project. I feel like you sort of teased it.
I know, I've teased it. It's a monster.
This is a massive project, and it's something that when it is launched, and everyone listening and watching here, like, we would love for you to be part of this. But the idea of this is that it's our mission for every player to get the best coaching advice. And there's only 2 of us, and we've obviously got other coaches within the Padel School as well, but we're a small team, and how do we help as many players as possible? And yeah, it's going to be a massive project, and well, you will be the first to hear about it, and we would love for you to be part of it.
Yeah, watch this space.